Michael Verney, the past couple of days, do you get this sense that there's a real anti-GAA sentiment out there that people are just looking for reasons to call for the season to be cancelled? I mean, that's certainly the sense I've got. I mean, the club season brought joy to so many people, and we know about the excesses in terms of like post-match celebrations in the odd place. We know about social distancing that didn't happen at a couple of games, and they were on TV and all that. But in a general sense, there's something like 330,000 players in Ireland at all levels. I mean, this was something I found from an annual report from the GAA in 2014, and I presume it's not too different at this point. It might have gone up or down a little bit. But we had games for months on end there. The cases didn't grow. Other aspects of society were opened up. Cases have grown. We're at this situation now where people said there's too much COVID in Ireland now. We need to shut things down. Can't make a case for the GAA inter-county season to go ahead. Now, we saw the first round of the league recommencing at the weekend. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I just don't see where this kind of anti-GAA kind of bias is coming from, really, to be honest with you. And I wonder with a lot of the kind of negative commentary around the GAA and why it needs to be shut down, like what exactly is the basis for it? And are those people really connected with just how much it means to so many people all around the country? How happy and positive the GAA makes people, whether it's the Thursday or Friday leading into a big match, whether it's the Saturday or Sunday watching matches. Like I put it this way, I got sent a picture there the other day of two young kids, the two sons of the Antrim fullback, standing one to the left of the telly, one to the right of the telly, looking at their dad playing in that league final, and you're just thinking, imagine, like, those lads, obviously it'd be unbelievable if they were at the game, but imagine how proud they were there, standing, watching their dad playing a big game on telly. Like, otherwise, like, he would have probably been out the back garden playing hurling with them, but imagine the motivation, the energy, the happiness that would bring to them. And imagine, like, you've got calls from older people, I've got calls from older people, I've been chatting people, ringing people up and down just about, Jesus, isn't it great the games are back? Isn't it great we've something to look forward to? I'm getting that left, right and centre from everyone. My mother's on to me, my father's on to me. Everybody is talking about it. It's giving people something to be positive about. And yet there's this kind of negative commentary there. Not sure exactly where it's coming from. Just something I'd like to just bring up was actually John Heslin put out some remarks last week. He put out a tweet about, saying when was the commentary about, the people need the GAA to go ahead. When was that commentary kind of going to go away, basically? Because he said he was worried about the health of everybody else. And I think it was maybe a bit misconstrued, as tweets often are. He was just basically saying that he just wants to make sure that all precautions are put in place, that players can play. He wants to play. He loves playing. He was the first man, he said, in Cusack Park the other day for their league match, and he'd be the first man at training Tuesday night. But he just wants to make sure all those precautions are put in place. And I think just after the last couple of weeks and some of the things that happened maybe after county finals, the GAA have really, really upped their game big time. Like with face masks, with social distancing, with anybody that's in a ground. There's not people in on top of each other. Obviously, there's nobody let at the matches now. But every precaution needed to be put in place is being put in place, basically to make sure that, I would say, the mental health of a nation is kind of looked after over the next couple of months. What would we be doing in the dark, dreary winter months if we didn't have GAA to talk about? And I think before people put out tweets and comments, saying that, it has to go, what exactly is your reason for saying it has to go? And are you thinking of the ramifications of that if the GAA did go? I bet you those people would be happy for a couple of days that maybe they're getting their way, and then they'd realise probably in November that, people are struggling mentally a lot. There's nothing to watch on telly. There's nothing to be excited about. So I'm not sure where that commentary is coming from.
Yeah, and a lot of it is coming from non-GAA people. It is coming from some GAA people also. That's fair enough. Like you have to kind of take the rough with the smooth. You have to take everyone's opinion on board. And the worst thing you can do is sort of this modern phenomenon of cancelling people. So like, let's say you put out a tweet there and you're saying the championship should be shut down, and I follow you and I'm like, do you know what? I'm not going to follow that lad anymore. I mean, it's getting to that stage of cancelling people. Cancelling online is the modern version of what excommunication from the church used to be back in the day. You're blackballed, you're blacklisted, and that's it. And it's so retrograde and like so lacking intelligence. And this kind of narrative came out at the weekend that players aren't being tested. The Loud player came out and spoke about zero testing and all that. Let's debunk this straight away. I was on to the GAA and they said testing is there for players. at all levels. Rapid testing. If any player wants it, they can have it. This talk of a two-tier system is ridiculous. The Wexford footballers, as you know, because you did that story on Wexford last week, because there was some cases with the hurlers and footballers. Like, the Wexford footballers are down, they're way down the rankings. They're in Division 4 as far, if I have it correct.
Yeah.
I know of the Meath hurlers going to get it done. It's there for you across the board if you want it. And the GAA they've briefed like county boards, they've briefed players. And if they're not actually taking the message on board, there has to be personal accountability here.
Yeah, and just on that, Shane, as well, like, me and you have both given out about the GAA for various things down to the years. Usually to do with, a competition being ran the wrong way, or fixtures overlapping, or something like that. But to be fair to them, they've really stood up and been counted over the last while. They've done, the work, and a volunteer basically organisation has done the work of a professional organisation with the hours they have been putting in. For example, I've been chatting to Michael Dignan fairly regularly in Offaly. Like, he's putting in, on top of a work day, you're putting in crazy hours dealing with things within counties, and that's going on at a national level as well. And this is all just to make sure that the games can go ahead as smoothly as possible, because these people on the ground are chatting to people and realising how much it means to everybody, how much it means to mothers, fathers, grandfathers, sisters, brothers, nephews, nieces. And that's basically what it is. It would give people, like, imagine 6 days before Christmas, the All-Ireland champions would be crowned, all going well in football, and 12 days before Christmas, the All-Ireland hurling champions would be crowned. And you basically if things can keep continuing on as they are, it's just going to roll into Christmas. Everyone's going to be locked up for the next 6 weeks, but there'll be something to hold on to, something to cling on to, something to be happy about over the next, the guts of 2 months. And I think people need to be a bit more responsible than rather just this kind of cancel culture of, it has to go, cases are rising. I think the GAA are doing everything they can to make sure that county players, we always talk about the inter-county bubble. To be fair, the inter-county bubble, they're making it as safe a bubble as possible for inter-county squads to train and play matches, and everybody associated with those squads to be safe. And I think people need to be a bit more responsible before they just call for something when they haven't really thought of, what they're saying and the effects that it will have on so many people.
Yeah, I mean, like, everyone's got their own opinion. I think the government have been disastrous in the way that they've dealt with this pretty much from the start, and we're lumbering from one thing to the next. And it's very frustrating to watch. The idea of 6 of the bleakest weeks possible now, and then being told you can't have, like GAA. And for example, you and I, we love having GAA there. We like talking about it. We work at it. It's our livelihood, the whole lot. That it's very easy for people who've got a guaranteed income, that they've got, they've got a public profile and all that stuff, to say, what, cancel it. But you know what? Maybe that's not their life. To other people, like, let's say your old lad, my mother, whatever, that from one end of the week now to the next, what are they supposed to do with themselves if this is cancelled? They've already more or less had to shut themselves away for 6 months. Now you're giving them no games to look forward to at the weekend. And let's be fair, this is a GAA country. Parishes up and down the country, this is what they do. They watch GAA, they live it. So you can't have it at the weekend. So you'll have nothing to talk about either side of the weekend as well. Like you said just before we're recording, from a Thursday to the weekend, you're previewing the matches in your head or in your households or whatever. Then you're watching them at the weekend. Then you analyse them for a couple of days more. And the thing goes again. I mean, that would really help get these 6 weeks going. Not to mention the fact that in terms of the games themselves, I mean, the chances of transmission are very, very low. And as I said, 330,000 players, we'd have seen cases all over the place if that was going to happen. Outdoor settings, 19 times less likely to transmit disease, hasn't been seen. Now, people are worried about celebrations. Oh, what if, the Donegal-Tyrone game, the amount of house parties after all that. But there are house parties going on across the country. Let's be honest here. There are boozes going on across the country, whether it's soccer, rugby, whether it's just friends, whether it's a bunch of hipsters, whether it's a bunch of students, whatever the hell it is. There are parties going on, and they're not going to be stopped. You can close the off license at 8 o'clock if you like. People are just going to go at 7. I mean, so there's going to be parties no matter what. But what we need to do is think, how can we minimise the impact off the field so that we don't actually stop players playing on the field, deny people the enjoyment of watching them, deny the people who safely want to play the opportunity to play. And I mean, anyone who wants to opt out, fair enough. Mickey Quinn of Longford, he has opted out this year, and there's no problem with that. So if you're not one of the people who doesn't want to play, fine. But like, these people who are just looking to dance all over the GAA and look for a reason to cancel it, I don't get it. And I mean, even think...
Can I just say, Shane, as well, I wasn't happy with how the GPA survey results were kind of given out there, that people are saying that 1 in 4 GA players don't want to play. I'm just like, why is the negative slant always put on it? Why isn't 3 or 4 GA players do want to play? And that's the way I think people are putting such a negative slant. I don't know if it's because of all the negative connotations with COVID that people are just programmed for negative news, negative commentary at the moment. But everybody seems kind of infatuated with putting negativity out there, be it that type of a thing or be it the season should be cancelled or whatever. And I think people need to take a step back and think of the effects that cancelling a championship would have.
And where would we be without GAA as well? Like, think of all the club players, male, female, that went and did the shopping for the older members of their parishes. Think even of the Cork hurlers and the amount of money that they raised for the Marymount Hospice this year. Like, there are loads of different county teams who got involved. It's not just a single out one. It's happening
just
across
on that
the board.
chain as well. Who did the government go to when at the start of the pandemic when they needed assistance? They went straight to the GAA. And like, in fairness, I know you haven't been happy with most of what the government did, but that was the smartest thing that they did. The GAA in every community in Ireland then set up COVID officers within clubs. Nearly the majority of COVID officers in towns were GAA members who were now acting as COVID officers within their town. They set up a network of people calling around to doors, delivering dishwashers, cleaning chimneys, delivering groceries, collecting pharmacy things, bringing them to the hospital if they need to be brought to the hospital. That was the majority of that was done through the GAA, and I think anybody on the ground in a GAA club would know that and see that people need the GAA over the next couple of months.
Like, even on Monday night, Clare visited Tipperary in the under-20 championship, and what we saw was a couple of the McMahon brothers. They were driven to the game by their mother all the way from Corofin in Clare. She had to sit outside in the car park and watch a stream on her phone as her 2 sons, just yards away, were in playing a game in an outdoor setting. I mean, this is what we're asking parents and families to do. I mean, I don't know, when you played underage for Offaly, a huge source of pride for your family. This mother, presumably those kids can't drive, so she's had to drive them an hour plus to get them from Corofin to Thurles. And then she's made way down just the way things are panning out at this stage. I just find it very difficult to swallow.
And can I just say on that as well, but that's what people will do without making a big deal about it, just for the games to go ahead. That's what people at the coalface in GA, with sons, daughters, whatever involved, mentors, that's what they'll do to make sure the games go ahead, because that mother knows exactly what it means to her 2 kids, and she knows what it means to the rest of the squad, and she knows what it means to the county. And people need to kind of realise just how much positivity the GAA will bring to a nation basically over the next 2 to 3 months. Just when you look back at when you compared all the positivity that is brought and some negativity, but we thrive on negativity and missed scores and bad calls and all this kind of crap. But that's what makes the GAA. That's what makes sports so special. So I think people need to be a bit more careful before they start throwing all this kind of negative commentary out there and think of the effects that it's going to have on so many people across the country.
Yeah, it was actually Garrod and Diarmid Cahill and their mother Geraldine. I just threw it up on the screen there for a second. I got the surname wrong, but so be it at this point. But yeah, I mean, I get, you get it. I mean, cases have to be kept low, but surely it's about living with COVID and find ways to get on with things, and not, just because some people can't have, we've seen so many things closed down. Like, for example, I was at the gym yesterday, and the gyms are going to be closed from tomorrow. On my way into the gym, I did a temperature check, so right up to my face, check the temperature, I'm fine. Go in, the place has been sanitized in between the group that were in previously, and when I went in, I also used some spray to spray down the bike machine that I'd use, and they're getting shut down. So, I mean, just because that's getting shut down, and I find that frustrating, and some people would live for the gym, and that's all they do, they live for the gym. You'd hate to think that there are people out there who are thinking, well, just because my thing has been shut down, so should the GAA. And as I said in the video yesterday, I also believe the government needs GAA to go ahead. So all these people who are out with the pitchforks, the curtain twitchers, looking to get it shut down, they really need to think, is this the best thing for people? Fair enough, people need to not celebrate excessively and have all these massive house parties. But is it going to change the amount of house parties around if you do have the GAA going ahead? And are there a huge amount of positives to be had out playing this championship? Yes, there are.
unbelievable positives come from it, to be honest with you. I, for one, I'm so enthused for the next couple of months just to have this there, despite the fact that, you know, I had a couple of little breaks booked here and there. They've all been cancelled. There was gigs here that you were supposed to go to today, but they've all been cancelled. But the one kind of saving grace is hopefully now that the GAA will go ahead, and at least that's something to save the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, look, we could talk about it from here until Kingdom Come, but yeah, we'll monitor the situation. I do have a fear that the mob will come through on this one. Like, that poll was even put out in the Claire Burns show with 67% of people not wanting it. That was a poll of 1,000 people. I'd one up on the R Game Twitter the other day, 750 plus people. They responded to that, and that was 63%, give or take, saying they do want it to go ahead. So, hey, what's in a poll? And we've seen basically polls say one thing: Brexit happened, Trump happened. So, do you know what?
Yeah, and Shane, if 75% of inter-county players who were right at the coalface wanted to happen, I think that's probably the greatest indicator of all, to be honest with you.